Hey nerds, and welcome to The Gutter, the Mixer Gutter this time. My name is Steve-O. This is episode 19 of the third season of the Gutter Nerds podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the Final Fantasy franchise in general. Woo. Joining me today is just Gravy. Baby! Number one! Over on the side of the couch.
What?
The number two to JB's number one. It's Corporate Cal.
Corporate Cal. I don't know.
Today, Raven 1 was gonna at 8 a.m. Raven 1 says I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna help Corporate Cal set up his streaming PC.
Oh yeah.
So are you set up and going?
Hell no.
What the fuck happened, man?
I don't know. These are really good questions because I talked to him the night before,
right?
And he was like, "Yeah, man. When I wake up, I'm gonna give you a call. We'll get it done. It'll be great. Cool, satisfying." It comes around. I wake up at like
slimy yet says.
Yeah, I wake up at like 1 o'clock. I don't have a phone call yet. I'll go about my day.
Yeah, sure. You have
I go to the gym.
What else do you do?
And watching some Netflix, hanging out. Burning some time for maybe to hear from Daniel. Been at the gym at about 5 o'clock during the day.
Yeah.
And then while I'm calling him, he said he just sent me a text message. So he actually texted me right as I was calling him as well.
Sure.
And
it's one of those.
He said Satan's asshole was too hot to leave his house because of his motorcycle.
Right. Okay.
And it's very hot.
What was it? 90.
It was a little warm.
Billion
90 something.
So it was a little hot outside. He did offer though to do it over the phone.
Yeah, no,
or through Discord.
That would burn your crotch.
So there was other valid offers.
Okay.
Which I said I'd rather do.
I offered to still help him if he would come pick me up. He said fuck off.
I don't know if I said fuck off. I was just like, well.
That was definitely fuck off.
So, guys, if you guys are new to our podcast, feel free to engage in the chat over here on the side. Pool, Pari, hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. What have you guys in chat, what have you been playing? What have you been playing, Cal?
Besides, I've been working a lot, but when I am not working, I just throw on a casual game of TFT. Just
still
because
in the TFT train.
Yeah, and
because it's TFT.
Dynamite. Corporate Cal. He's in for the fight.
I love you guys. Yeah. They put a new patch out. They did about 10 new items in the game. Not even 10, so what's 10 times? Like 100 new items?
Yeah.
Something like that. Just crazy amounts of new stuff you can do. And they changed the outlook of the game and added more champions. So the pool of the game is consistently changing. The devs are on it constantly. They're modifying it all the time. Every about 2 weeks or so, there's updates to it and patches and making it more balanced and more fun. So cool. If you like that strategy and that chess type game, I'm still going to put you in TFT.
I'm telling you, man, as soon as you get that stream up, I would watch it.
Yep.
I have fun sitting right here on the couch watching you play after streams those couple times.
Yep.
I'd watch you do it.
Yeah.
You're good at talking about what you're doing while you're doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Pool's been playing WoW Classic.
Cool.
You would, Pool. Yeah, back to the Blizzard tax. Yeah.
Raven said there's a new patch dropping for tomorrow. Do you get access to WoW Classic with the same subscription as WoW, or are those two different subscriptions?
Are you looking at me like I pay the Blizzard tax?
Well, I thought you would know about the Blizzard tax.
No, I do not.
If you're denigrating the Blizzard tax, I figured you have some information on it.
I just...
Oh, okay.
I just call it the Blizzard tax because
I
don't pay for game subscriptions. I am against that.
Pool says, what do you mean you would? As if, you don't know him. You don't know Pool.
He's pretty cool. Cool Pool.
Cool Pool.
He's not a cool tool. He's a cool pool.
He's a cool pool.
Good save.
What have you been playing, JB?
Dude, man, you got me in that GTA fix again.
I did, didn't I?
Yeah, you're like, hey, you want to play some GTA? I was like, I think I got time for 5 days later.
So yeah, we spent a little bit of time off stream just doing some screw around and survival.
I'm telling you, I'm wasting stupid money on my club. I walk into my club and it's like, and I'm like, I own this.
I had a dream because of going to your club. Because when we went to your club, you're like, oh, I have like new lights and I have like go-go dancers now. So they're not strippers, they're dancers.
They're go-go dancers.
But I had a dream where we were at my bachelor party and we were somewhere and they weren't strippers, but they were like exotic dancers, like they were scantily clad. And in my dream, it was like I had ended up there without thinking about it, because at some point I was like, oh shit, Nerdist is gonna be pissed. As was the thought that I had of my dream.
Wow, this is like Jonathan's club. Looks pretty great.
Yeah.
But man,
you're just trying to rack up money in GTA Online.
I'm just having some fun trying to rack up money, build my criminal empire. Although yesterday, criminal empire.
It's just funny.
I told no, it's great. It's when I tell my wife that I'm like, yeah,
my criminal empire.
She's like, what are you doing, honey? Working on crime.
Building a criminal empire.
There's one way to the top, honey. One way to the top. And that's to ride the roller coaster.
Cool, because you're not going to have a roommate. You're making your spare bedroom into the game room. I love that idea. I love that idea. Make your space yours.
Yesterday, I was playing some GTA, and I had a moment of, like, genuine anger. And that's because they introduced, like, gosh, a year, some change ago.
Probably actual go-go dancers would not be no-go dancers. I'm saying that in my dream, it was one of those things where I was like, I was equating one thing with another, and it
Sure. Easy segue.
Yeah.
Anyway. But like those, they're the rocket bikes in GTA Online, and
oh, they're fucking stupid.
And don't get me wrong, like very clever, lots of fun. I'm sure they are fun when you're the one on it.
Yeah. There has to be a counter.
There has to be a counter.
Some sort of actual counter to it. To them in the jets, because like there's
and they're gonna say, well, yeah, they're low armor. You can just get out and shoot them. I'm like, not easily, not well. They are too fast. Their homing missiles are like
they're too furious.
They're too fast and they're too furious.
And I'm just saying, like, it makes the other parts of the game that they have built and have been around and a staple for a while really hard to do. Like
I know the solution.
If like someone's walking around in a jet, at least you can hide from the jet. 1, 2, they are fairly easy to hit.
Yeah, because so you still can't use a homing missile on a jet because they're too fast.
Right, but like jets can't do inner city flying as well.
Right,
under bridges and stuff like that. The
yeah, but the rocket bikes go wherever the fuck they want.
Yeah,
there's still a good solution.
What's your solution?
Is it get good?
No, it's calling up The Rock and calling up Vin Diesel, and they can help you get through this.
Oh,
like they do in all their Fast and Furious movies.
The Rock and Vin Diesel.
Yeah, the homies. The homies. Just
a good
speed
point.
dial.
That's a good point.
It's not about cars.
Bree's been playing Frostpunk, and she hit 4K on TikTok. Congratulations for 4,000 TikTok followers, Bree.
Nice, very cool.
That's fantastic. Wow. That's great. So I also have been playing GTA Online. I am sort of almost towards the end game in Sekiro, and I started playing Banjo-Tooie for Saturday Morning Retro this last week.
Oh, Banjo-Tooie! I got hit by a wall in Banjo-Tooie.
So
a crazy hard wall that I could not get past.
I'm having a bit of some difficulty with it because the first Banjo was pretty sort of tight. Like there's stuff everywhere. There's a lot of things to do. But Banjo-Tooie, everything is so broad and wide open, like just because they could.
And there are some things I like about it, like there are shortcuts from one level to directly jumping into another level rather than heading out to the main world and then
right.
And I like that, except and like you can travel between the worlds to collect jiggies as needed, whenever. Versus the other one, which had more of a Super Mario 64. You go to one world, collect its jiggies, go to the next world, collect its jiggies. This one was very much you go back and revisit worlds. But it was big for the sake of big, and it wasn't really filled with stuff.
Right, yeah. I agree. Hey, welcome. So, yeah, I have just initially, I'm a little bit like, not sure I'm going to like this as much as the first one, but, we'll make it through. But I also, like you, have been very into GTA Online. We did the Saturday night. We got on. We were not on stream, and they have some new survival series. So they have survival maps, and they have some new ones. They're doing double money and double RP. And if you survive 10 waves, you get like the big cash out or the big payout. So we got to the last person of the 9th wave, and died.
Got blapped.
Yeah, and we had it was so frustrating. But now I want to go back and do it.
Do you know how much money the final what the
big payout is?
Because at level 9 we got paid like 84,000, and that was double.
And that's double, yeah. So I don't know that it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it on the normal.
It's not worth it unless you win, and unless it's on double.
And on double, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it took us so long, because you have to be so careful. You die like that.
Oh wow.
So we were just like holed up in the hallway, just blasting people as they came through the piles of corpses.
Fun.
It was fun though.
But not worth it if you're trying to get money.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to get the money.
Yeah. Think Vine, but more cringe. is TikTok? Yeah, TikTok is Vine. It's not a 6-second limit, I think.
And that's the thing, though. That's what it needs. That's like what this stuff needs, because nothing is allowed to be like Facebook is for old people. Says all my students, and I'm like, y'all use Snapchat, and they're like, no, we use TikTok. I'm like, isn't TikTok Snapchat? And they're like, yeah, but it's TikTok now. Like,
right.
If it's not the hip new thing, it could be, hey, check it out. So, I've invented this new toy that kids are gonna love. You put 4 wheels on a board. I call it the roll board. And I can do really cool tricks like the jolly. And I'm like, oh, so it's a skateboard. No, it's too much cooler than it, like, whatever.
It's cool to skateboard, it's a radical export.
Yeah, and the point I'm making is, it's the fucking same thing.
Sure.
15
but
because it's new.
Rollboard, I'll take that.
Because it's new, all the kids are into it. And are going to leave Snapchat and move on to the next one.
Yeah, I use Twitter as well, and I like Twitter because it's an instant. It's what's happening in the moment, and it's also like streamers use Twitter a lot, so I can connect with other streamers on Twitter.
I'm not good at using Twitter. I don't follow enough people or have enough of a following to like have it warrant be used.
That's fine.
What's that?
You're here. And that's what I appreciate.
I'm bad at social media.
So guys, tonight we're going to talk about Final Fantasy, and I'm going to give you like, we're not going to go through the entire history of every game because you guys,
because either you're a fan of it and you know the history better than us mooks,
right? So we're gonna we'll touch on some things to give you a primer if you are unfamiliar with Final Fantasy, and then we're going to talk about some of our favorites, some of the ones that we think maybe the best Final Fantasy, that maybe that's different from our favorite one.
Oh, no.
Or maybe one that's overrated, or the worst one.
I just realized I didn't even tell you one of my favorite ones also. Damn it.
You did though.
I gave you one of them.
You did give me one of them.
Damn it.
Tactics.
Yep.
Aha, I was going to ask you about, don't worry, I'll ask you about Tactics. I thought.
I completely blanked.
Happens.
So, Final Fantasy is a role-playing game series that has spanned the last 30 plus years or so.
Yeah.
And so let's go right into Final Fantasy 1. This is what Final Fantasy on NES or the Famicom looked like. It was released in 1987
the
in
year
Japan.
I was born.
The year you were born.
In December, what, 18?
In the US it came out in 1990, but in 1990 or sorry, 1987 on the NES. It is called Final Fantasy, and there's a bit of a misnomer, a bit of a misunderstanding. The thing that people like to say is that it was Square's final game, and so they called it Final Fantasy, and they went all in on it. That's not entirely true. That's kind of true. It was going to be their swan song. This was Square's sort of like last hurrah. But the reason they called it Final Fantasy was kind of arbitrary. They called it Fight Fantasy, but Fight Fantasy was already taken by a tabletop game, and they just wanted something to be FF. They said it could have been any F word. We chose fucking fantasy. Yeah. So, and this is according to Hironobu Sakaguchi. This is a quote attributed to him that they couldn't use Fight Fantasy, so they chose Final Fantasy. That's separate. Hey, Pumpkin Killer, what is your favorite Final Fantasy game and why? So anyway, what you have is you have an overworld map. When you go into towns and dungeons, you usually have a smaller version of an overworld map. And then combat itself is also yet a different screen or a different instance where you randomly come across, you don't see the enemies on the screen, you randomly get sucked into battle as is happening
Like in
here.
Pokemon, it's a random encounter.
Right. And so you have different characters and different classes, and you choose, taking turns, choosing what you want to do. And that's essentially it. And it tells a story, and you explore, and you talk to people, and you fulfill the story. The story was pretty basic at the get-go. You're the 4 warriors of light, and you have to go to the 4 crystals and then beat the boss. And when you've done all that, you've won. So this was Final Fantasy in 1987. So first of all, who's played like the original Final Fantasy on NES?
I own the game. I have the NES. That game is hard as balls.
It's hard as shit.
It is hard as hell. It's very fun, very long, very grindy, and then you can get lost very easily in that game because you're not really given any direction.
Right.
You're given that little bit of direction.
You have to go around and talk to people, and even then you have to go through
back and forth
and explore shit.
And if you don't have the right amount of items, you'll die, and then you'll get trapped, and hopefully not go. It's a very, very, very hard game.
So I'm with you. Says I beat FF1 on GBA as a kid. So I played the GBA version, the remaster, kind of a remake actually of Final Fantasy 1. And that was where I played it on GBA. It came in a bundle, 1 and 2. And that was easier because you could save at any point.
Oh, that must have been real nice.
It was real fucking good, yeah.
That's a cool feature, saving.
And Pool says you've only ever beat one Final Fantasy game. Which one, Pool? Oh, 7 and 10. Okay, fantastic. Actually, keep that in mind because I'm going to do a poll a little bit later to see. I'm going to ask you guys a question to poll a little bit later, but I'll just hang on. Pumpkin Killer played Final Fantasy V back in the day. So Final Fantasy V was originally on the Super Famicom. It did not come out in the US. It did come out on PlayStation 1 combined with Chrono Trigger, I believe.
So wasn't that
Or no. 5 and 6 were in Anthology.
5 and 6
4
was Anthology.
4 and Chrono Trigger
wasn't
were
the Anthology
in
5 and
one
6,
disc.
3 and
My
4
quick
though?
question.
No. So yeah, it gets confusing because now we have access to Final Fantasies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all of them. But back in the 80s and 90s,
3 wasn't released.
3 on Super NES was 6 and 2 was 4. So in the US, you had access to Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 4, and Final Fantasy 6 before Final Fantasy 7 came out. So
Now,
Hey, Zion
how
War.
many of the originals, 1, 2,
Thank you for
3,
the
4,
host.
whatever,
Yeah.
were continuities of each other?
None. So every Final Fantasy is its own story with its own characters. They do use the same themes, and they will have
Some of the
some similar characters.
And-
Chocobos are usually there.
That's a similar thing.
yeah, they use
Now,
magic. They use.
I knew that about the more modern
summons
ones,
and
like
stuff like that.
7 and up. But I thought for a moment, like, Final Fantasy 4, it looks like you have the dark magician.
It's same.
They use
same
a lot of the
themes,
same themes,
a lot
but
of same
but
themes,
each
but
one
all
is different.
storylines,
But then
all
I
different.
think Final Fantasy 7 is when they're like, hey, what if we just come up with like, or was it Final Fantasy 6 or even 5 that they're like, hey, let's go extremely like zany and wonky and like really like build a massive like novel of a story.
Right.
That would be
So
more,
starting with 10, they introduced sequels, and 13 also had a sequel, maybe a couple of sequels.
13
and then
too.
7 added some spin-off games as well eventually down the line. But up until Final Fantasy 10, no Final Fantasy had anything to do with each other. I mean,
They
Yep.
were they were
they were
interrelated in that
interrelated.
all Final Fantasies had
They're-
certain.
yeah, you got
They're-
mages.
Most
you
of them
have
are
things like
turn-based
that.
games with
Yeah.
different storylines. Is the basic theme that they have together.
Right.
They're all different, and they all have turn-based games.
Yeah, that
Zion-
pop-up PlayStation
and
Pumpkin
the
Killer.
encounters.
Yeah, that gray one.
As I understand it,
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
not alone, and do not.
Sid is in every game, correct?
That's okay, Zion.
Yeah,
We'll
you're-
get there.
you're in safe
Tell me
company.
why 12 is your favorite, and I'm going to ask you guys in a little bit what's your
I
favorite.
played 12 for a little bit, and I quite enjoyed it.
So, Final Fantasy was on Nintendo exclusively up until 7. Mm-hmm. Then Final Fantasy 7 was on PlayStation. It was on PlayStation exclusively until 13. 13 became cross-platform again. It was on 360 and so on and so forth. But Final Fantasies 1, 2, and 3 were on NES. 4, 5, and 6 were on Super NES. 7, 8, 9 on PlayStation 1. 10, 10-2, 11 and 12,
11 is online.
and 11's an MMO. And then 15 is now on the current gen and PC and everything.
And so that-
And now we've gone back and we've added. So now you can play on your Xbox One or on your PC. You can play 7, 8, 9, you can on the Game Boy Advance. 3 was remade as a DS game, as a Nintendo DS game in 3D. So now you've got a lot of access to them and a lot of different things. Chocobos and Boogles are my jam, and Red Mage says Shark. So Sid and Chocobos were introduced in 2, but have been in pretty much every game since then.
Yeah, they've had some sort of representation.
And Wedge and Biggs as well.
And Wedge and Biggs, were introduced in either 2 or 4.
And they've
I can't
been in
remember,
also
and
just
have
about
been
every-
in pretty much every one. 4, and then they have since added some sequels and spin-offs to other games. I think Alm says that 4 has a sequel, which actually I didn't know about.
Zion, I feel you.
Yeah. Tactics is really good. Yes, so right now on Xbox One, you can play Final Fantasy 15, and you can play, I believe, 7, 8, and 9 are
There's
available
a remake of
on
8, yeah.
the remasters.
It's the remaster of
Yeah.
8.
I'm so sorry.
There is a pretty important difference.
Is it the word
'Cause-
remake versus remaster?
Because Final
No,
Fantasy 7 is currently being
Yeah,
remade.
Final Fantasy 7 is being
You're right,
Final
you're
Fantasy
right.
is
The
being
remade is
remastered,
like
the
a
graphics.
reimagining
From the ground up.
an entirely different engine and all that, but same story. Whereas remastered
Right.
is just.
right.
A graphical enhancement.
So let's.
I get you. I don't.
I've given you the brief history now, so let's talk about favorites. Zion had mentioned his personal favorite was 12, but then sort of goes back and says, wait, Tactics was my fave. So, Tactics is one of your favorites as well, Cal, right?
Yes, I
Tell
don't-
me a bit about how Tactics works.
Oh man, it's also a turn-based strategy game in my eyes because it's like a chessboard. You get different classes of people that you can use, and you put them in different positions, and then you move them through a turn-based system. With this game specifically, the story is super in depth.
Rather than an open world, you take on missions from a menu.
It's technically, yeah, you can say they're missions. You're sent to different locations. So the map opens up as you beat the level, but every time you go cross over those maps again, you have the potential to have that random encounter to fight on that map space again.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. And Alm loves the spin-offs more than the numbered games, really. So yeah, you guys, tell us what your favorite is. Cal, one of the other ones that you said was your favorite is this guy right here. This is Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah.
So Final Fantasy VIII works, so 7, 8, and 9 all were very similar in the way they were constructed. The way their battle system worked, the way the over the map worked. They had pre-rendered cutscenes. So the way this works in 7, 8, and 9 was you have 3D characters. You have 2D backgrounds. So this is just a static background that is pre-rendered 2D background that you're walking along. And then you have random encounters similar to the old Final Fantasy that would happen, and you go to a battle screen. And you'll see battle here in a minute, but...
they're about to fight, I think, Ultima Weapon.
That is correct. Yes, this is the Ultima Weapon.
I've been watching a YouTuber replay, play through Final Fantasy VIII completed, because I was thinking about buying it and playing it, but then I realized I'm not going to enjoy it at this point. I would rather just watch somebody who knows what they're doing run through it, and he's doing everything. He's collecting all the cards and playing it. And I'm like, cool. Now I get to just enjoy the story.
Once I get my stream up and running, I'm going to do this game.
Alm likes Dissidia, Dirge of Cerberus, Theater Rhythm Tactics.
Also,
very
so
cool stuff.
speaking with this game, it also had a very unique system in it. Now, a lot of people didn't like the draw system in this game because it's way different than most of the Final Fantasy games.
Right. So
they tried to try something new.
Right. So in previous Final Fantasy games, in every Final Fantasy game, you level.
Yep.
Then on top of leveling up, like your number, you go from level 5 to 6. On top of that, you can typically specialize in some way. Now, some games you just strictly level up. I think in the original NES game, you just leveled up.
Yep.
You didn't choose anything else other than...
You chose what class you were.
Right.
And then that class actually goes from monk, like you go from fighter to a knight.
Right. But in 8, you had to draw magic from enemies during battle.
That would help your stats.
And
I mean, you could cast them as actual spells, but they were much better as equipable, modifiable, like they modded your stats.
So here's the battle screen, and so the character now you're in a 3D world, a 3D rendered world using the in-game engine. Your meter fills up, and when your meter fills up, then now you can act. You have to wait until your meter's full, and then you get an action. In the action, you can choose if you want to use an item, or use a summon, or use magic, or draw, or whatever it is that you're doing. And then the enemies as well. You can't see the enemy's active time, so you don't know when the enemy necessarily is going to attack. This system is my least favorite of all of them. I don't like active time battles.
It is
It's hard.
It's a hard system.
Yeah.
And
tough.
especially because you have to draw most of the items. Like you've got to draw out the items. You've got to, even some of the Guardian forces in the game, if you don't draw them from one of your enemies and you don't acquire it, then you don't get it the rest of the game.
Acquired Eden. You get Eden from fighting Ultima Weapon here.
Yeah.
Right. Here's my problem with 8. I like the story. The graphics were good.
For the time, the graphics were phenomenal.
Fun, great. Even the graphics for 7 at the time were great, but 8 was even more realistic than 7.
Oh, yeah. And the cutscenes were incredible.
7 had the juxtaposition between very cartoonish-looking goober Lego characters to in-battle, more realistic.
Yeah.
And this had a better job of being
more consistent.
More consistent. You don't have to bounce between one or the other.
So here's the problem with 8, and a lot of RPGs do this, but the issue that I had with 8 was twofold. One, the way that it gives you a tutorial, but these long blocks of reading, and you really got to pay the fuck attention.
Yep.
And nothing stuck. I did read it, it just didn't stick because it doesn't have you practice it. It just goes, here's how a draw system works. Here's how the junction system works.
Yeah.
Go forth. And I was like, well, fuck, it was tough. On top of which, there is a point at which you cannot go back when you get to Ultimisia's castle, which is end game. You cannot go back. You are stuck there. If you're not powerful enough, or did your draws right, or your junctions right, you can't go back to the main area and level up and go draw and learn and get all your shit. Once you get there, you're either good enough to beat it or you're not. And so
And that's
what
where I
I
got
had
stuck.
what I had to do, I was like, fuck that. I'm not going through 40 hours a game again just to get back here. So I plugged in a Game Shark and gave my characters level 99.
You're a bitch.
And it is a shameful thing that I did.
hate
It's
that.
not.
I am so upset.
I
You
am
wanted to
ashamed of
find-
myself.
wanted
you
to find
are
that
a
enjoyment
coward.
in the game. And at this point, you could no longer continue to get the story. If you wanted to see the story to its end, you had to change things up.
Right.
It
So
angers
fucking
me.
do it.
It angers me so.
Yeah,
Why?
8 does easily look better than 7, yeah.
Now, it does also implement one of the best card games ever created.
Oh yes, can't overlook that.
Triple
Triad.
Yep.
One of the best and hardest card games ever.
Yeah.
Because if you did have a good card and you got beat by somebody, you lost your good card, and you had to hope that they used it and you could win it back from them.
You
Right.
know, and
Or
it
you
was-
just hit reset and start it again.
The massive amount of like rules and rules changes depending on where you go. Like you can play a very simplistic version, like highest number wins, but then you get the elements, you get the samesies, where it's like if your card has like a 7 and a 6 on each
Right.
side, and the opposite sides two had a 7 and a 6 to where each side added up, like your left side's matched and your right side's matched, and the numbers were the same. Oh, then fucking take them both.
If you
And I'm sitting there like,
They're just.
if you guys don't know how Triple Triad works, you basically have a 3x3 grid. It's a 9 square grid, and you place cards on it. And on every border, there was a number. And so if you placed a card here, and it had a 3 up top, and Cal plays a card here with a 4 on bottom, this card becomes his. And then you continue to place to take cards to try to take
Right.
spaces and stuff.
I see what you're saying there.
Right? So
Yes, I'm picking
I actually have a game called Cell Swords, I think, that's very much Triple Triad, but it's a tabletop, like actual.
I'd be
and
down
you,
to play.
You place, it's pretty cool. And the grid grows as you place stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Now, with Triple Triad 2, the important part of Triple Triad, which most people didn't realize, is that getting the big names, the face cards, like if you're getting the Sid card, or you're getting the Squall card,
Right.
or those cards later in the game, you actually use the abilities from your Guardian Forces to dissolve the card and turn that into X potions or some of the best items in the game.
Oh, so the cards actually did become part of like your
They turned
items
into
and stuff like that.
100
Card
of
mod. You can mod cards.
the best item.
Okay, that's cool. I actually didn't know that.
So yeah, it's a ability.
And it always
off,
stressed me out.
it's ability off
But then
Diablos.
I found out later you could
So you
regain cards. There's only like 1 or 2 cards that you can are permanently losable if you mod them, and the rest you can actually if you
Go back and get again by
Well,
playing
you have
other
to
people.
you have to do a certain Triple Triad like side story in which
Yeah.
you get like you defeat the
card maker.
the ace, king, queen, jack, the card club,
Right.
and then if you do that early enough, they'll be on the Ragnarok ship, and you can play them and earn back literally any cards that you.
Now,
So-
and
Yeah.
the reason they're important though also is because, you know, as you mentioned in the junction system, those abilities and spells that are used to make you stronger, you again dissolve the card and you'll get like 100 of the ultimate spell. Just put that on your ability, on your character, and you'll be stronger that way.
Yeah. So Squall and Cloud are my biggest reasons.
Seems interchangeable.
Like when I was younger, I played Final Fantasy VIII because I was like at least not terrible at it. Although I found out later I actually was because I've never beaten it, and I'm actually terribler than I thought.
Then you thought.
But I was like, okay, I can play it. But I never once resonated or in any way connected with
The heroes.
The side characters, I love them.
Yeah.
But like Squall and Cloud, I'm like, oh my god, use those big ass fucking swords and slit your throats. You freaking bore me with your depression but freaking Selfie and all the side characters, especially like the peppy ones, and is it Riku?
Yeah, from 10.
From 10, and Selfie from 8, and I forget her name from 7 with the giant Yuffie. I'm like, fucking bring on more of the bubbly fun side characters.
Yeah.
Any day of the week.
So actually, when we get a little bit later on, there's a game I think that does that actually pretty well. He is an Advent Children. Oh, Cloud is an ass, but he isn't the edgelord people think he is. Yeah. So and we're actually going to talk about the movies too. So for reference, Final Fantasy VII came out in '97. The game here that we're talking about, Final Fantasy VIII, came out in '99. The first Final Fantasy that I ever played was actually Final Fantasy IX, and I love Final
What a
Fantasy
great
IX.
game, Zidane. What a good character.
Zidane is more of a happy,
Never played 9.
kind
a
of
great game.
dude. 9 was sort of the throwback because you had done 7 and 8, which were more futuristic fantasy, and 9 sort of goes back to the original like
In the woods.
NES, the Dark Mages, really evoking like the
didn't they have
original stuff.
Vivi, who was
Yeah,
the Dark
Vivi was the Black
Steiner
Mage.
and Vivi, and they all actually looked their parts. Like a
Yeah.
knight was a knight, and a black mage was a black mage.
And it's had, I think, that good balance of like being kind of fun and not taking itself too soap opera seriously, but also having the weight of like the world-ending stuff. Like did that really well. So, but that was not my favorite.
Aerith, I will just tell you that 9 is actually pretty fun. So if you get time, play it.
Yeah,
I think it's a great game.
9's great because
it's
you can
pretty well rounded.
The way that the sort of in addition to leveling up, the way that you spec in that game is whenever you get a weapon, each weapon has an ability. And if you use that weapon enough, you can learn that ability inherently to your character.
Yep.
So you get a weapon, you use that weapon a bunch, and now
master
I know
that.
how to do that thing, so
Now
I
do that
know how to do that
any-
no matter what weapon I'm using.
I like that.
And it's cool, yeah. I really like that. So I do
like
recommend
it.
you play 9.
And then you got Final Fantasy X, which did a good job of mixing the old and new tech. Like
Yeah.
Xanarkin's old world, Xanarkin's like modern future world mixed with like a very classical old school. And I gotta say, Final Fantasy X for me wasn't. I never beat it because I had glitch after glitch or just was terrible and lost patience.
I've never played.
This was my favorite. Final Fantasy X is my favorite Final Fantasy, I think.
Voice acting was beautiful.
So it varies. This was the first time that Final Fantasy used voice actors. Good night, Bree. Passed out. Oh, no problem. I do have your favorite game a little bit later. I will say what it is, so don't worry. I do have it here for you, Bree, but we'll cover it for you. Have a good night. 10 was the first time that they used voice actors, and at the time, they were fine. There are some cringe moments, like Titus's ha 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 ha. Right? But there are some good performances as well. John DiMaggio plays Waka, and that's a very heartfelt performance. He does a great job. The story is understandable and personal, with a world-ending kind of feel to it. I feel like the story for 10 balanced it perfectly. Now, I haven't played 6 yet, and I'm told that I would love 6 if I played 6, so I need to play 6.
Pretty goddamn dark.
So, 10,
I've
the
never
battle
played this
system
game.
is a little bit different. Right, yes, Pool. I would agree that the laugh was purposefully cringy because he's trying to force him. It's a forced laugh on purpose. He's not actually laughing at something.
Yeah.
But the battles in this game
Well, it still
are
made- it
straight
still
up
made
turn-based.
My butt pucker.
There's no
every
active time. It's conditional turn-based. So what you'll see on the top right of the screen is the list of actions. But when you do actions,
You can
that
rearrange.
can change things, and it will tell you how it will rearrange things. So if you if I use slow, how far does that bump down the enemy? And so you can plan. If you like turn-based tactics
Yeah.
with sort of the traditional Final Fantasy thing, if you haven't played 10, you
I
may
haven't.
really like it because it does allow you to stop and think about your actions and what you're doing and how it affects other people. The graphics were beautiful. The cutscenes were beautiful. And someone new to the style of game, yes, perfect for an intro game.
Final Fantasy X was the perfect intro game.
Yeah.
If you're like, oh man, I've never played a Final Fantasy, play 10 first, and if you really
Throw 'em in
like
the
it,
fire.
if you really like it,
Give 'em
it
one.
might get you. It might get you in for what you need to enjoy to play things
Right.
like 8 and 7.
And in everybody starts off with a job, and the way that they level up, in addition to the level, the way that you spec is through something called a sphere grid. You use different spheres to unlock different abilities, and you can take them on a path. But if you spend the whole game upgrading everybody, you can take everyone through the whole sphere grid. So you
Yeah,
can make
everyone
everybody maxed, basically. Everybody can be everything.
And
Okay.
I've seen and heard hate on that.
How
Right.
long does that take?
But it takes a while.
300 hours to do
Oh,
that.
okay.
But
But
what
you,
I've
you can
also
play the game in 35, 40 hours with each person just doing their job, specking on their one job that they start
On
with.
their one path in the
and
grid.
yeah, make them a high-level mage, and you can do whatever you want. But if you want to spend the extra time, you can make Lulu, who's the black mage to start off, you can make her the healer if you want to put in the time.
Gotcha.
But I gotta say, like even as perhaps imperfect as the sphere grid was, because sometimes you're like, oh, I want to keep moving forward on the grid, but I don't want to move forward until I've earned this thing to pay for and unlock a certain skill to get, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it makes up for its at times clunkiness by being just really creative and clever.
Right.
At least they went like, you know what? Let's try something really different with how to level up people. And even if the system wasn't perfect, it was just so unique that it was forgivable for anything that made it hard.
So Final Fantasy didn't. When Final Fantasy came out, it did not necessarily tread new ground. Like they took a lot of cues from Ultima. Even Dragon Quest had come out prior to Final Fantasy, but
it took some risks too.
But they put things together in a really good package. Like when we talked about GoldenEye, it may not have broken new ground, but it put things together in a really good,
things together
clean,
in a nice
way.
It demonstrated the peak of the peak gaming of its time.
So Final Fantasy X came out in 2001. For the record, it was the first one on PS2. It had been in development for a while. I was a freshman in college, and my roommate almost dropped out of college because he was playing Final Fantasy X.
Do I know this
ad
person?
nauseum? No, I don't think you've ever met my college roommate. But like our friends Mike, even Raven One, like it was everyone I knew from 2001 to 2005 was like into Final Fantasy X. That was my ecosystem was filled with like everybody's playing 10. That was like the thing.
Yep.
So now let's jump to 2003, and this is Jonathan's favorite.
Who dang!
What are we looking at?
This is a gem. This is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and it was a GameCube game, and it utilizes the GBA link, and like you could play this. Bad boy
I had
co-op.
said earlier that Final Fantasy 13 was the first one to go cross-plat, but actually this spin-off game was back on Nintendo GameCube.
And this is so perfect. It's such, and I'm not saying this is what sold it to me, but it's a family-friendly version of Final Fantasy. You create these little characters. You're here protecting your story, but also it was great for role playing for especially me who likes D&D and stuff like that. Everything is like it's crystal clear. You fucking tell your story. Your characters write in their diary, and they write about the events that took place, and you level up, and your characters have jobs in the village, and you can work those side jobs while keeping your village up. But like also 4-player fucking co-op.
It's a co-op.
Same screen, but you each have your GBA, and you've got your little personal map and all your menu stuff down there.
So this was one that you couldn't play with 4 GameCube controllers. You had one person on a GameCube controller, and you needed 3 Game Boy Advances.
No.
You could play with GameCube controllers.
So if it was clunky here. If you played it by yourself, solo GameCube controller is all you need. Although you could do a Game Boy Advance and play in second player slot to have all of the menu items down there.
Right.
But if you played it multiplayer, what you had to do is you had to host. So one person plugged in their Game Boy Advance and was the host, and you had to import other players from like other memory cards or something like that.
So did you need if you wanted to play 4-player? If we wanted to play
4 Game Boy Advances all hooked up.
then we needed 4 Game Boy Advances or 1 controller and 3 Advances.
4 Game Boy Advances.
Jesus, really?
Each person needed.
Yeah,
their own game.
That's an expensive 4P game.
It's not that expensive.
It wasn't.
Like I mean, if you had
At the time, yeah, if
you had to already have a Game Boy Advance, which most people.
I did not have one.
I know that not everyone has.
Right.
But like.
But I'm saying if I was just
right
from
now,
scratch wanting to play 4-player, it's not just going out and buying 4 controllers. We would have to buy 4
But they're
consoles.
They're remaking this.
Yes.
Or remastering
So
it.
this game's coming back out on
Switch, I think.
Switch
or PSC?
plus Android and iOS.
Yeah. So me and my friends who played this in high school, I think we're gonna re-hit this up again.
So this is more of an active battle, right? Like you walk around a dungeon and you just swing at things, sort of, I guess, Legend of Zelda maybe style.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, a little.
It's hack and slash.
It's a bit hack
very
and slash, but you collect
Diablo-esque.
items and like it was just so charming. And again, I will do almost anything co-op.
Right. So
But
one
like
character.
my friends, we'd collect the murder trees, and we'd go save our village, and then you'd do a little dance, and there's like this festival, and they played this music that was cute, and me and Daniel and Nathan would put our controllers down and dance and just do doofy things, and like we really
Just embody
never before had I like so inherently connected to and really role played my character. Like we spoke to each other as in character. We created backstories.
Was it Diablo like?
That's exactly what I think I
like
just
Diablo.
said. That's I think exactly what I was going with. I was like, it feels like a version of Diablo.
It is.
Except
it's a family-friendly.
What's the circle? One person has to carry around a lantern.
The chalice.
Or the chalice. So
And
the
that's
chalice
got-
allows you to do damage, or
No.
you can't exit the chalice.
So yeah, you can't exit the chalice, or you'll receive gradual damage. So the idea, the whole story, and I'll keep the short. The story is you live in a world that some asteroid hit and it released this gas called miasma, and all the cities have a giant crystal in the middle of them that projects this like barrier, this aura of protection. Every year, though, you have to restock the crystal by pouring 3 drops of myrrh from like a myrrh tree. And you had to go out and collect myrrh from the myrrh tree.
Right.
And so, like, these
So you
chroniclers
have a little personal
would be like,
crystal.
hey, we're the new young people. We're going to go off and collect 3 drops and then bring it back to the city every year. And it protects the city for another year from the miasma. But the secret is, as you advance the story and, like, you venture further out, you start to realize, like you could just continually forever play the game as I'm just going to keep collecting the myrrh, level up my characters, fix the city. Or if you and your friends advance far enough in the story, you realize, oh, there's like an actual reason for this miasma, and you can go all the way to the point of like defeating saving the world of it, ridding the world of it. But what was even more charming was that like.
But essentially,
you're moving
it
around the
acted as a
map-
way, aside from the plot, it just acted as a way to just keep you guys together.
Yeah.
Like the 4 of you have to stick together.
Yeah, but the problem is
essentially what it
one person had to carry it, and
Yeah.
like.
So
okay.
one person is just walking around while you guys are fighting.
They're the Chalice War. Unless you drop it and then you jump into the combat, but by
Right.
then, if your other players are already jumping in the combat, they've killed like half the players, and you just kind of feel left out. But the last thing I said is that there are side stories. Like you as you're moving around the map, it might just kind of, and you're going to zoom in, and you'll see these. You'll run into these chance characters, and like every time you meet them, their side plot has advanced. Like the Black Knight story. Every so often, you'll run into the Black Knight, and you'll hear more of his story. And if you go visit and talk to certain NPCs in certain towns, you actually uncover like their hidden past.
Oh, that's cool.
And then you know sometimes and so you get really invested in a bunch of the NPCs because like it'll be like, oh, you've decided to stop for the night to work with these few guys to help them out, and you've traded food and stuff like that. And it's forever documented in your diary. Like you can go through and read your entire diary from the day one all the way to the end, and they've chronicled everything. Hence Crystal Chronicles.
Yeah, there's a Crystal Chronicles.
And it was just
That's pretty cool.
charming and
like
fun and wonderful game.
So it's 2003. That was on GameCube. So Final Fantasy XI is probably the Final Fantasy I've played more than any of them, which was the MMO. And the MMO, by the way, Final Fantasy XI holds the Guinness Book of World Records for being the first cross-platform online game, because you could play PS2 to PC, and I think 360 as well.
It was a really hard game too.
Oh, Final Fantasy XI was hard as shit, and here's fucking why.
I never understood the
it's an
PS2 to internet was very possible. I heard it was super clunky.
It was clunky, but we did it. You had to buy a hard drive, you had to buy the modem, and it was you had to buy a keyboard.
I'd rather just buy 4 Game Boy Advances.
FF11 Online. Oh, it's Shark was a Tarataru. Yeah. So here's why it sucked, even though it was awesome. So this was.
It's grindy.
I
It
feel
is
like
super
that's the way
grindy.
you describe any Final Fantasy.
There are missions. There is a story to Final Fantasy XI. The missions that you do. Those missions you can do like at certain times when you're a certain level and you need a group to do it. The quests in the game do not give you experience. You know, in an MMO, you go get a quest from someone, you go fight some stuff, you get experience for killing the things.
Level up.
But then when you come back, you get experience for turning in the quest, usually an item or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Final Fantasy XI, that's not how it worked. The only way you get experience is by killing mobs. After level 13 to 15, you cannot kill mobs on your own anymore, period. You have to be in a group. So you can play through the first bit of 11, and then you have to group every time you play if you want to level up. They do have some quests that you can get, but there are no quest markers. You can't see who offers quests. You just have to go around and talk to people. You don't get markers for where those quests are. You just have to find them naturally through. It's hard as fucking shit. You're like, oh,
Sounds like a bad time.
It's a woman. You go up and a woman's like, oh, I really could use a red rose, or I really could use a rose. And you're like, okay, cool. So you go and like, there's a flower shop over there, and they offer all kinds of roses. Well, I bought this one. That's it. It's like, I don't want that. You have to figure shit out, and it's so much time, and it's incredible. So you needed people that knew where to go, that knew what mobs to fight, and you also had to be in a party where nobody messed up, because if you wipe, you lose experience, as in you level down.
That's
as in,
shitty.
I got to level 15. I got the new armor. Let's go out there. My party didn't do their job. I got wiped. I'm now level 14, so all of that armor gets de-equipped because I'm not level enough to wear it. Shit, I sold my old armor. I'm fucking fucked. So, 11 was brutal as shit. Hey, Master Charles. Hey, Twitch chat. Wait a minute. Where am I? Charlie's stumbling around drunk again on the internet.
Oh, Charles.
Everybody give him space. You would have hated Final Fantasy XI. I don't know why I loved it, but I did. I guess just it was a weird thing of you had to combine attacks. You had to not only do your job, like the tank had to fucking tank and couldn't mess it up. The healer had to heal and couldn't mess it up. But then on top of that, you had to chain things with each other. So, the Dark Knight used his like spear lunge. I'm the monk. I have to follow that within a few seconds with this ability because it would chain and do bonus damage. And that was the...
Speaking of...
You had to know all that
I'm
shit.
going to segue back. I'm sorry to do this.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I also loved about Crystal Chronicles. So, like, if I'm charging a fire spell, I can only do fire spell. Second player charged a fire spell, and if you held it, it kind of had this little reticle, and then you synced them up, and you launched them at the same time, and it became Fyra. If you had 3 people do it, that's how you got Fyraga. Or I could do like a charged attack, and I'm charging with my sword, and it shows the circles so that I know where I'm going to jump and hit.
Yeah.
I
communicate
lock
with
it on
each
the
other.
enemy, and he locks fire at the same time. So I jump and I can suddenly flame sword attack.
Right.
And so like you really built your. I love that. So that one section of Final Fantasy XI, All right, I'm gonna hit him with the spirits. Follow up. Like sounds super cool.
Yeah.
The rest of that sounds.
It was fucking painful. We spent hundreds of hours in it.
That sounds terrible.
But the one that a lot of people really like is the next Final Fantasy MMO. This one has more traditional MMO qualities to it. Yes, this is Final Fantasy 14, and this launched
Here's a decent game.
right around. So it launched in 2010, and it sucked, and so they scrapped it and rebuilt it, and then they re-released it in 2013, called A Realm Reborn. Now they actually put some of the lore from their original Final Fantasy 14 in it. So if you did play 14 and then played 14's reboot, you get kind of a continuity with that, which I think is super clever.
Yeah.
Now, 14, I am told, is that the story is fantastic. The DLC is fantastic. It is an MMO with a story, with some traditional MMO elements to it, like, you can see on your map who gives quests. I think it's a little bit easier to level than 11 was. But Anisama, I believe, was it you, Alm, that said 14 was one of your favorites? Alm said, I played 14 up till my toaster decided that boss wouldn't telegraph their attacks anymore. Okay, yeah, so enemies you'll see the little thing of where the attacks are gonna be so that you can like get out of the way or whatever.
Okay.
So apparently his PC decided he wasn't gonna do that anymore. 14 I am interested in. I have not played 14. Well, I played the demo when they launched The Realm Reborn. I played it for, I guess, like an hour and a half or something like that. But a lot of people really love 14. By the way, Final Fantasy 11 is still going on PC. It's not on 360 or PS2 anymore, but if you want to play 11, you still can. I don't know why you would, but people still play it. So in this last one that we'll show... Oh, and yeah, Alm says 14 is your favorite numbered game. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So I wanted to show 14 some love. Bree's not here tonight, but I wanted to throw Bree's favorite in, and this, I really love this game. This is the most recent Final Fantasy. This is Final Fantasy 15. It came out in 2016.
I get some Final Fantasy 7 and 8 vibes in terms of like
Characters,
style.
future tech and style.
Yeah, so definitely. This game is super fun. The main character is kind of emo-y, but your 2 partners, Prompto and
It's only
Ignis,
3 partners.
you have 2 partners with you all the time, and sometimes a 4th. person is there as well.
So is there not as many characters in this one?
No, you get your party at the beginning, and your party doesn't really grow. You get a fourth person that comes in and out, but you don't build it sort of like other Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
The game also uses a new combat system that's active, so it's more like
Kind of hack and slashy.
it's a little hack and slashy, but there is more strategery than that because you use different styles of attacks and different
Right, you
magics
use
and things.
Hard attacks, light attacks.
Yeah,
stun
depending
attacks, depending on the weapon
Yeah,
you have set up.
it's super fucking gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. The scale of enemies and boss fights is like stomach
Yeah, I
dropping.
saw something about like some giant fucking turtle.
Yeah, there's some crazy shit. You've seen Noctis more in Tekken than in any other game. Is Noctis in? Did they add Noctis?
It's basically
in Tekken?
a boy band on tour.
Yeah, that's what they call it. So you get your mount, you get to the car at the beginning that you get to
Drive around.
customize and drive around. You can upgrade it to the point where it can fly. There are different enemies that come out at night. There are different enemies that come out during the day. The story is a little meandery and kind of confusy, but it's okay. It's fine. The voice acting is good for the most part, and it is very fun. This I played all the way through without getting bored. I got bored with 12. I got bored with 13.
I got bored with 12, I'll tell you that.
I had a hard time with 8 at times. Some of the other early Final Fantasies I kind of lose interest in because they get grindy. This game, there's a lot to do in it.
You know, that's a criticism I've always had of the Final Fantasies is party number in battles. If you've got 6 players, there's never a time where those 3 are going to be like, I'm sorry, these 3 are fighting, so we'll just sit out.
They're hanging out. Yeah.
I don't like that, especially when you can fight more than 3 enemies on the screen.
So
having
10,
this where it's like, hey, we're just going to have... And I know you can swap out in 10.
Yeah, in 10 you can
not
swap
good
them
enough
out.
to me.
Yeah.
Not good enough. But this one, it looks like, hey, if someone's with you,
they're fighting.
they're fighting with you, and I appreciate that because,
and you can do chain attacks, right? So in this one, you can be like, hey, use this attack, and then you do yours on top of it, and they do like a little cinematic-y kind of a thing.
yeah, and I get that like the rest of it was done as like a we're doing this because it's a game, it's stylized.
Oh no, it's 4. It's always 4. Sorry, you have always these 4 guys, and sometimes you have a 5th person that.
But all
tags
5
along.
can be fighting.
But all 4 are always
Man,
there.
they're all wearing black
unless there's
and
a story
leather, too.
reason they're not.
These
It's like
guys are-
sometimes someone.
Oh yeah, they're like I said, it's like a boy band.
Yeah. And this also uses a kind of a sphere grid style system alongside leveling up as well,
I
where
think
you
that guy's got
unlock
2
different
more
things.
abs than actually physically exist on the body.
The 8-pack.
That guy's got abs up to his nipples.
Are you jealous?
No, not at all. I don't want unlimited abs.
Unlimited abs.
Alm says your gripe with 13 was that you can only control a character per fight, and you like to micromanage an RPG. So another criticism that people had about 13 specifically, we'll come back now, is that it was very linear in that you didn't open up the world until very late game. You just went through level
path.
after level, corridor after corridor, playing through the story
I don't
until
mind
it opened
that.
up.
I don't mind that.
I wouldn't have minded it either, except in 13 it was like, you are the foul sea, and you contract a disease called the cow sea, and the foul are the ones that are controlling your destiny through a magic called Fusi. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. It really, the game, when you read like the primer.
up with your dumb names!
Yeah, when you read the primer for 13, I get actively mad.
In the first 3 hours, you're literally trapped in a corridor.
Yeah, well, and
You're just constant fighting.
so-
and I
here's
don't
an
know
example
who
of
the
a corridor
fuck is
game.
going on.
Resident Evil 4. The entire game is a corridor.
Yeah, but
Sure, yeah.
And that does it well.
Sure, yeah.
So I don't mind corridors.
I don't
really.
mind corridors. You guys may have answered this already. Steve, I've briefly talked about this before, but what Final Fantasy game would you start with
10.
if you've never played them before? 10.
1.
Go fuck
Oh
yourself.
no! Don't send people to 1.
Play 1. Be a man or
10.
woman.
Oh, Catbot removed that? Oh, you can. I don't know why Catbot removed that. Hold on. We can restore that. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Catbot, you're a little too harsh.
I'd put him in probably Final Fantasy 8. Or 7. Just because it's
No.
go-to.
7 you might be able to start with maybe.
No.
9 you could probably start with maybe.
7 was
8 is
seven
way
was-
too hard to start
7
with.
Then
was
just
too
tactics.
difficult for me.
Tactics is easy enough.
Tactics is a spin-off if you want to do something weird and different. It's sort of like Advance Wars.
But here's the thing.
Goddamn
Tactics,
beep boops.
Tactics
Yeah,
is
fuck the
not
beep boops.
Final Fantasy enough. Final Fantasy
story?
Tactics, hear me out, is just
okay. I'm listening.
a tactics
Game with Final Fantasy elements in it.
Yes. If you're
And it's got a great story.
And I'm not
there's
saying-
there's nothing wrong with that. The story I'm told is fantastic.
But what, like, if you're trying to get to what the feel and vibe of a
Traditional
Fantasy
Final
is,
Fantasy would be.
10 is a
10 is
good
the way to start.
stepping stone.
Yeah. And then you can sort of go back and forward from there because 10 is like, it's pretty enough to not be like, wow, this looks like shit. But, you know, it's a good way to get into the series.
You seen that meme where,
a good
Renella
question,
goes
Zach.
to school and is like, you're the best looking guy in here. And then you zoom in on his face and it's just pixelated as
Pixelated
shit.
bullshit, yeah.
It's like, ugh,
The
looks
meme
like-
actually, in the remaster, they actually like...
Oh yeah, they're like
pretty him
actually
up.
pretty.
He
all-
looks good.
Yeah.
He's a good looking dude.
For a guy that good looking, why are you so emo? Like, oh my god, I don't do the emo. But I do gotta say, gunblades are fucking
Gunblades are cool.
cool. Like, they're
You attack and then you could time the shot, the button press
Hell
with it
yeah.
to fire and do it like a
Hell
bonus
yeah.
and
damage,
part of
right?
me is like, why has that not ever actually been done before in real life?
Right. The Gunblades are super cool.
I guess if you're like stabbing someone, like they're dying already. What's one bullet gonna actually do?
You beat 7 before beating 10 while not being able to read English. You'd say 7 was easy enough. So yeah, 7 may be easy enough. The knock that I have against 7 is that it looks kind of dated.
You
and-
look dated.
and I think...
God, that's why they're remaking it.
Well, yeah,
Calvin does
the
have a
remake
point.
of it.
He's going to attack your physical characteristics,
That's
and
true.
that means that what you know about
I do
Final
look.
Fantasy
I
is
do
wrong.
look a little dated. Okay, so let's talk about the movies a little bit. 2 Final Fantasy movies have been released. 1 in theaters. I think Advent
Spirits
Children
Within
I
was
think-
released to theaters.
Yeah, Advent Children was mostly direct to video.
And for the fans.
And
Mostly.
yeah. So Spirits Within, Final Fantasy Spirits Within came out in 2001. It's a completely CG movie, and it was very sci-fi-y. So
And for its time, it was an incredible
oh
cinematic
yeah,
feat.
yeah, absolutely. I loved that movie. The voice acting was good. I thought the CG was good. The story I liked. I quote the movie pretty regularly.
Did it have actually, like, having never seen it, does it actually, like, reference anything that makes it feel like an actual
No.
Final Fantasy verse? Or is it they just decided, like, hey, here's this story somebody came
Squaresoft
up
said,
with,
let's make a movie.
and let's add Final Fantasy to the beginning of it, and thus sell it better.
So
Yes.
kinda, yeah.
Yes.
There's not a lot. There are some thematic elements that are very Final Fantasy.
there's no-
There's like the Gaia and the life stream and like
Yeah.
see that's all like pulled from like 7. Like that's a big thing in it.
Are there,
but
like-
there's not character
Like,
classes.
there's no Ifrit Guardian Forces or any,
No.
like,
They have like
Bahamut.
crazy monsters and stuff.
or Chocobos.
And the story is really good. No chocobos. No warriors or mages. It's just like it's a sci-fi movie with some sort of
Oh, that reminds
fantasy
me of
elements.
another
Hey,
Final
because
Fantasy
there is
movie
a guy-
I saw.
there is
It's
a guy called Sid.
It's called Final Fantasy.
There's a guy called Sid.
Final Fantasy Titan AE.
Thank you, Eric.
I think it had to do with space and stuff and making a new planet. Let's just fucking add
So, yeah.
Or what about Final Fantasy Treasure Planet? Holy fucking shit, that was good.
Right.
Because it was like such a good Final Fantasy movie.
If you can, so there's a good reason.
Don't forget Final Fantasy Lord of the Rings. Ah, that's a good Final Fantasy movie. Had everything to do with nothing.
Right. If
Are you picking up what my complaint is?
I'm getting it. Yes,
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
What?
stop now.
If that and if you can get over that complaint, Spirits Within is a good movie.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. But it's going to take you getting over that complaint. Now,
And that's the thing. If they just were like, "Hey, we created this really cool movie called Spirits Within. Check it out."
Yeah.
I would have been like, "All right." But I think the Final Fantasy, I'm like, what are you trying to pull?
yeah, there's a little bit of a reach. Hey, Sis, how's it
I'm
going?
not actually that salty. I'm going a little extreme on my. I'm taking my complaint to an extreme for the sake of funny, but nah, it's
So-
not actually.
Then in 2005, they released a movie that was a sequel to Final Fantasy VII called Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. And this is obviously very Final Fantasy, directly 7 characters and stuff like that.
Give the people what they want.
So
Holy shit.
Advent Children is, if you love 7, you might like Advent Children. It's kind of janky and stilted, and it's not a great movie. However, asterisk, find on Blu-ray Advent Children, the complete edition. If you hated Advent Children, you're not going to like the complete edition. But if you thought Advent Children should be better, complete edition is actually a different movie. It actually has a lot of the explanation and characters. All of the deleted scenes in it make it actually make sense as opposed to being sort of a chopped up mess.
Yeah.
Now, what else?
Complete Edition is fucking good.
Advent Children does this. Oh man, I really like Final Fantasy VII. I loved the music. I want that one-winged angel, and I want to see the battle I visualized in my head when I was doing turn-based. Well, fucking here you go.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna watch some fucking awesome choreographed shit between Sephiroth and Cloud, and when they all fucking fight Bahamut, and when you get all the characters in the. It did a good job of visualizing what
you wanted
was
in
happening
there.
in your collective imagination when you played a turn-based fighting game. They turned turn-based fighting, and they took the story that people enjoyed and added a little more flavor to it. But this time they're like, hey, let's see what happens when we turn fucking gravity off.
Right.
And then just like go to it was I having never played and beaten Final Fantasy VII, I did buy the movie at the time because that's what all my geeky friends were doing, and I was really into that.
All the FF7 spin-offs are abbreviated AC, BC, CC, DC. Advent Children. What's BC? Because CC is Crisis Core, and DC is Dirge of Cerberus.
Which is the one about Dirge of Cerberus is where you play as
Vincent. Yeah.
I played a bit of that.
Yeah,
Before Crisis.
Before Crisis, thank you.
So, but like having never played Final Fantasy VII, and I bought
That's
it
funny.
for the dumbest reasons, I did really enjoy. It's kind of like if you've ever seen anything by Monty Oum.
Yeah.
Before he passed.
Yeah, Monty Oum was genius.
He had really brilliant choreography, and I think that's what Advent Children does very well.
Agreed. Yeah. And Advent Children is a beautiful movie, but find the complete edition. It's actually a full movie as opposed to just a collection of fight scenes. I think it was before. Okay, so it was BC was in fact before Crisis.
Just to add to our Final Fantasy discussion as well, there's something you have not brought up though.
What have I not brought up?
And maybe you have it written down. I do not know. But there is a specific composer used in every Final Fantasy, and his name is Nobuo Uematsu.
Yeah, so from Final Fantasy 1 all the way through, he has worked on the music for all of, I believe, the numbered games, the main numbered games, and
Correct.
some of the spin-offs. I don't know that it's been literally every Final Fantasy titled game, but...
Man, the one song... Okay, can we do a
One-Winged
quick
Angel?
moment? No, can we do a quick moment? Favorite song of his from any of your Final Fantasy games?
Oh, it would be the remake of One-Winged Angel for Advent Children. Yeah, with both the classical and the rock band.
I will never not...
Like the orchestral and rock band.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, I get jazzed
I
as
will
shit.
never disagree with the notion that even having never played Final Fantasy VII,
Yeah.
I will never disagree with the notion that is a fantastic song and can get even like me pumped, totally on board with it. But Final Fantasy X, when you fight Jecht and he fucking falls off the cliff and he's like, all right, you gotta take me on. I'm gonna turn into fucking Gilgamesh or whatever shit name is. And then like up until then, Final Fantasy X had really like bum 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 bum, really soft and enjoyable music. And then fucking the electric guitar comes out of nowhere and it's like, and you're just like, oh shit, this fight's gonna get fucking wrecked. And like he climbs up and he's just like this mega ject and like heavy guitar pops in from what has up until now been a lot of classic music or softer music. And I just remember I remember just fucking I'm cussing a lot here.
No, you're good.
Exploding with, oh my freaking god, this is gonna be good. And it was such a good song.
So when I Google Nobuo Uematsu, it does list Final Fantasy 13 as one of his games. But let me go through, and looks like...
You think if he retired or something?
Yeah, so almost says he's retired. No, he still worked on Final Fantasy 15. He's working on Final Fantasy VII Remake. He's still going. He's still, according to Wikipedia, he's still a trucking.
I'd see that man live at the orchestra. I still want to. If he comes by and does one of those orchestra strings, I will spend the money. I will go.
Oh, the lyrics to One-Winged Angel. Yeah, the Latin. Yeah, it's Latin, I believe.
I believe it's Latin.
You got to see me at a con. So
I think
fantastic.
I did too.
Really cool.
I think I seen some at a con several years ago myself. Yeah. I don't remember.
So, we've talked about our favorites. is there one that we think is the best Final Fantasy game, or is that going to sort of vary? I feel like we're either going to hear 6, 7, or 10 as the best made Final Fantasy game.
I still will say Tactics. I don't care.
Tactics?
I think Tactics' storyline is one of the best storylines ever.
Again, I'm not going to go with best because each person has their
favorite. And we've talked about the favorite.
I think 10 comes off as the most approachable, easiest to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you said, "Hey, can we a lot of people will say Final Fantasy 7, a lot of people say Fate 8, or a lot of people say what are the other." But I think you could get like a collective agreement that everybody likes 10, or most everybody likes 10.
I've heard a lot of people say 6 is the best one. I've heard people say 7 is the best one, and I've heard people say 10 is the best one. But I think we can all agree that 7 had the biggest impact, right?
Yep.
I think 7 had the biggest impact when it launched, right?
I agree.
That's pretty
that boosted
culturally, right?
That
was like the biggest deal.
Squaresoft to continuation.
Right. So Square became Square Enix, I believe, after Final Fantasy X. I believe so. Either Square did 9 and then changed this, and then it became Square Enix between 10. Or either between 9 and 10 or between 10 and 10-2. I can't quite remember, but it was somewhere around. It was in the early thousands. By the way, if you guys are interested, the Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out in March of next year, and it's going to be a multi-release thing, as in it's being released in parts. So in March 2020, you will get Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1.
Now, will it only be for the PlayStation?
Right now, it is only on PS4. So it is a PS4 exclusive.
A lot of people are really stoked about it, and I'm super happy for them. I don't know that that's one I'll play, but I will 100% watch it.
So
I think I will get to really enjoy it. I will really get to enjoy the story, I think.
Yeah, if you want to watch it, I'm sure I'll play it because I love the story of 7, but I don't like the battle system and the graphics of 7.
You don't like the materia system?
Materia is good. I'm fine with materia.
Okay.
Putting in different materia in my weapons, and that's cool. I don't like the active time battle and the graphics. I can't.
The jump between cartoony to a little more realistic is...
It just... 8 looks... So there are some games that have older graphics, but still look pretty in their older graphics. Even Super Mario Brothers, looks...
Super Mario World.
Either Super Mario World. They're older games, but they look pretty. To me, 7 looks ugly. 8 looks pretty. 9 looks pretty, even though they have dated graphics. I don't like what 7 looks like, getting a remade version.
He's got boulders for shoulders in 7. What are you talking about, bro?
Boulders for shoulders.
God, did you make that up? Or you're fucking good at these coin and turn of phrases. Not gonna like how.
Yeah, I think 9 is pretty universally loved as well. That's a good point. I don't hear anybody hate on 9 like
9 is great.
So what's the worst Final Fantasy then? What's the one that is it 13?
I think 12 is.
You think 12's the worst one?
I was not a fan of 12. I quit that game not even
I didn't like 12
within
very much
3
either.
hours into it. I was like, this is trash.
I wasn't a super fan of 12.
I was not a fan of 12. But me personally, if you enjoyed it, you powered through a lot of stuff. I was not willing to. I was like, this is ridiculous, and I just
Alm says 13. Yeah, I don't like 13. At least is no. The Foul C and the Jam C, and if you level to 99, you unlock the Crim C. And stop it! You're driving me crazy. I'm spitting everywhere. You're driving me crazy. And 12 doesn't do that. I just don't really know what's going on in 12.
I just don't know what's going on.
The Empire has raided the Western Bank, and the geopolitics has now fallen through. So now we're going to join. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
It was too fucking political.
Naked chick has bunny ears, so enjoy.
It was too political. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Just send me in the right direction.
Yeah.
Fuck me. I want to play the game, not have a political battle. Is there an election?
I think Tactics has a lot of politics in it as well, but Tactics explains it to you pretty well.
Well, it's that in the story it explains it to you, and it also while it explains it to you, you go into the fight right afterwards. You're like, all right, dun, 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 fight.
5 was kind of forgettable. I think I never played 5, and I think I never played 6, but I hear 6 is good. I hear Kefka is a memorable villain.
Yeah.
Right?
I haven't played 6, but I know the whole storyline, and yeah.
So if I play a game and I can tell you what happened in that story, then that's good. So 15 doesn't quite get there, so I can sort of tell you. In 15, it starts with the king being assassinated, and you're the prince, and so you go into exile so that you can come back and reclaim the throne. that pretty much makes sense. That's sort of the base of the story. And it gets a little meandery and 12, I can't tell you what the fuck anything happened.
Nope.
13, I can't
nothing.
give you
I
shit
think
about
it
13.
sounds like 12 is like the a Phantom Menace of Final Fantasies. Like the story is like so vague and out there in multiple characters.
It's more, yeah. Kefka,
He
totally did it
doesn't
for the
know
lulz.
what that means, and that's okay.
Oh, Kefka's like the Joker, right? Just the chaos.
No, he's the villain.
Yeah, right, but his motivation was just one of chaos. I do shit because I like to.
Yes.
Because it feels good to kill people.
Yes.
Yeah. Spin-off-wise, Dissidia is quite the train wreck. Went free to play and is still dead. That's the fighting game, right, Dissidia?
I think so.
So there's a couple. We also didn't touch Kingdom Hearts today, which is no longer a Final Fantasy crossover game.
Maybe
it's just a Disney
maybe the
game.
next one will be.
Maybe Kingdom Hearts 4 will put your Final Fantasy back in your Final
they didn't
Fantasy.
have
Disney.
anything Final Fantasy.
So Kingdom
Brie
Hearts
would say
was
there was
Final
probably-
Fantasy and Disney, right? And then Kingdom Hearts 2, similarly, but a little less Final Fantasy. Kingdom Hearts 3 has no Final Fantasy characters in it.
Apparently, Bree said there might have been a slight illusion somewhere, which I don't know, but I haven't played it. Still,
Good.
I have it still in the Saran wrap at my
Great.
house.
Well, is it just because they didn't have acquired
Man, you
the
were
rights?
all about 3 before it came out. You were like,
I was excited.
I remember at E3, you were like, give me my fucking.
And then I bought it, and
release
then I was
date.
like, I don't have goddamn time to play this.
So, did they just not come like with an agreement between the companies, or
No, I think they had access to all of their shit.
I don't know.
Like, there's a Cactuar statue in there, I guess, somewhere.
There you go.
But, yeah. Oh, the PSP Dissidia are good. The PS4 one is boring. Gotcha, okay. You stop 12 and running around town getting a saying I was Bosch. Yeah, so the characters also... Final Fantasy 12 is the only game where you don't play as the main character.
Yeah.
You play as Vaughn, who is observing... Like, he's battling and everything, but he's observing all the stuff that's happening to, like, Balthier and Fran and all this stuff. Which,
Yeah, too goddamn political.
which I think could have been a cool mechanic. They just, it didn't do right. Good night, Raven. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate it. So it is time to wind down our thoughts for the night. But if you guys have any more Final Fantasy thoughts, feel free to hit us up. If you're watching on YouTube, just hit us up in a comment below. If you're watching us here on Mixer, feel free to post in the Discord or hit us up on Twitter with more Final Fantasy thoughts if there's something that we didn't quite touch on that you wanted us to. The last thing that we do before we call it a night is we go to the fan can. If you guys want to add a question to the Gutter Nerds fan can, just tweet us at Gutter Nerds using hashtag FanCan. Ask us anything. We'll add it into the can. We'll draw one at random and answer at the end of the night. Gentlemen. Ooh. Best Pokemon.
Cubone? Done.
Pincer.
Why? Why is Cubone the best?
1, it's adorable. 2,
Okay.
it's a tough little cookie. It wears the skull of its dead mother, and it fights you with bones. It's like, hey, look, it's adorable.
That's pretty good.
Cubone's adorable.
Would you wear the skull of your dead mother?
No, it wouldn't fit.
With some...
You break it, just
No.
like Cubone did.
I would not. But that's what makes Cubone
the reason
adorable.
is not... That you didn't say the reason you wouldn't wear it is that it wouldn't fit. You're
No,
just
that-
saying,
That was my joke.
regardless, it wouldn't
That was just a joke. No, I would not wear the skull of my dead mother
Mimikyu.
on my face.
I'm a big
Cubone's just
Cypher.
adorable. It looks cool. It's like
Now it-
dinosaur style, normal type. Wears the skull of its mother. If it evolves, the skull actually formulates around its head and it becomes permanently infused. And it fights with a fucking bone.
Oh, that's awesome.
Plus, you can walk and be like, "I got a bone to pick with you," and then beats the shit out of you.
Aerith, you're right. I love Pincer.
Aerith, I thought you were, or Alm, I thought you were in our Discord. I'll post the link to the Gutter Nerds Discord. We don't have it public right now because we just add people as they ask to. But I would love to have you in there because we know you. What was yours, Cal?
Pinsir.
Best Pokemon? Pinsir.
Pinsir is,
What's
it's got-
Pinsir?
The
it's got-
guillotine
Pinsir.
bug.
It's got the giant bug, and it's got the vagina-looking tentacle teeth mouth.
Wow.
Oh, is that why? You like vagina?
No, I
dentata?
didn't. I like the guillotine on it today. I didn't even go that far to think that way about
I mean,
his
it
mouth.
looks like a giant Goliath beetle
Yeah.
There you
with
go.
arms
There's
that can punch the shit out of
Here's
shit.
a temporary Discord link if you guys want to jump into the Gutter Nerds Discord.
What's your favorite Pokemon? Or excuse me, what's the best Pokemon?
Okay, so
you-
best Pokemon.
If you say Pikachu, I'm gonna jump over there and I'm just gonna throttle you.
He's not going to say Pikachu. I think Steve-O.
Ryan Reynolds.
Wow. I'll get the hell out of here.
Oh, that's
It's time to go, Steven. Steven, we're taking over.
Steven,
Okay,
that is the exact kind of response you would get because you're trying to be funny and clever while still relating to Pikachu. By the way, that movie was beautiful.
Really?
It wasn't bad.
I want to see it.
It
want
was
to see it.
so good. It was so much fun.
It was pretty fun.
I don't know. Fucking Charizard, because he's a dragon.
All right, I accept.
There's other
Dragonite's pretty tight too, though.
What's? Oh no! Best Pokemon, Magikarp.
I was about to say you're trolling.
Cause he don't do shit. Flop. But eventually becomes the mighty Gyarados.
You said
Why?
that
Why?
really
Yeah.
weird.
Why'd you say that with like a weird accent?
No,
I don't know.
That was like a.
I don't know.
Jack.
And look, the only reason I know that shit about Magikarp is because people have told me that shit about Magikarp. I thought Magikarp was just a floppy, useless piece of shit.
He is a floppy, useless piece of shit.
You just gotta train that useless
But he has
floppy
potential.
shit.
He has
Yeah.
potential.
Just like me.
Well, we're still working on that.
You're like
Don't hold yourself too high
You're
just
like a
yet, buddy.
Magikarp, like
Okay.
like 3% into evolving because you got the blue hair to Gyarados, but otherwise you're just a big floppy piece of shit, Steve.
Squirtle, cause he has a squad. Squirtle squad.
Hell yeah, Squirtle Squad.
Potential
Potential.
is gone.
Potential, but
I
not
gave
there.
him instructions. I said bump it, and he was like, ah.
So so our Discord is unofficially sub only in the sense that when you sub, you're granted access to it by subscribing when we're on Twitch.
Right.
But it's actually just more of a private, like when we get to know you.
when you are deemed
we just want to have
necessary.
it open to randos
You have
because
been knighted into
I'm
the
having-
Discord.
That was gloriously awkward for sure.
Do that again. Right there. So you're going for the bump. One of my favorite things to do to my students is bring it in closer. TIE Fighter. And they're like, oh my god. Or I'll go stick shift. And they're like, oh my arm, Mr. Hollyby. I'm like, I'm not done.
That's aggressive.
Your grade depends on this.
got
Okay,
this.
so guys, next week we're going to talk about the worst endings in video games. Some of the games with the shittiest endings, the most disappointing. Not the games themselves. The games themselves could be very, very solid or amazing, but then you get to the end and you go, why?
Why the fuck is this?
Yeah. So
That'll be fun.
Think about games where the endings were absolute crap. And this is where we will leave you. If you're watching on Mixer, please feel free to follow us. Check us out on social media. If you are listening to us on our audio-only podcast, or if you're watching us on YouTube, please follow us on Mixer. It's mixer.com/gutternerds. You can interact with us in chat and be part of the podcast yourself. My name is Steve-O.
JB.
Corporate cow.
And we'll see you guys next time.
In harmony. Are you ready? Goodbye.
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 Thank you.